With a company called Millennium. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from this presentation while you're here is that URL there, wa692.avayalive.com. That is really the only way you're going to be able to experience what we're going to talk about and feel exactly what the idea of immersive virtual environments are about. So about 6 years ago, Mark Mullaney here figured out, using the mods for the Unreal Engine, how to import high polygon engineering and architectural models containing maybe up to as much as 1 million polygons. And we kind of worked away at it for a few years and then scratched our heads and ended up with the idea that we had this idea for content on a platform which was more or less useless. Nortel, actually about 3 years ago, purely by coincidence, figured out and decided that they could make a business model out of embedding the Unreal Engine from Epic into the web. So that what they worked out how to do is get the gaming engine and make it available by one click, and you go into a 3D virtual environment. And there's VoIP embedded, so you can literally walk around inside an office environment and talk to one another. You can give PowerPoint presentations. You can synchronously watch the web on a website with other people during the presentation. And what we figured out, though, is that we weren't interested in actually office unified communications. We were just interested in bringing in very immersive models to make 3D environments for anybody in the world to actually appear. So we're just content makers. And here, in that particular case there, we're talking about working with the University of Southampton on recreating a shipyard in Rome. So I'll take you through one of the... Now, if you're aware of Second Life and things like World of Warcraft, then you'll be perfectly comfortable at understanding this. It's running off a laptop, so it's a little bit less than perfect, but in here, we've created this Roman shipyard inside a virtual environment. If you click on that wa692.avayalive.com, you will appear as an avatar, and you can start walking around inside the environment. You can make environments up to 6 miles square, and what we've done here is brought a 3D Studio Max model into the 3D environment, and you can walk around it. In the next few days, we're going to add more boats, better textures, and increase the size of the environment. So we're going to gradually build this and import in various different types of modeling that have already been made in the palace next to this, some temples. And the idea is we're working with Southampton on generating a complete architectural reconstruction of Portus, which was actually a huge complex just west of Rome, where a lot of the exporting and importing of food and grains and valuables came in. Okay, how are we doing? Oh, that's good. So what we've done is, if you go to demo.avayalive.com, you'll see there's an office. You can go into various booths and you can click on download a PowerPoint presentation, invite people from anywhere in the world to come in and actually see the PowerPoint presentation. But all we've done is modify the idea of using that 3D environment, web embedded, with the VoIP already in there, to use it for lots of other engineering, architectural and archaeological uses. Thank you very much. It's based on the Koi restaurant in Hess Street. So if you go to downtown, the Hess area of this restaurant portion is actually a copy of the Koi restaurant on Hess Street. So it's remarkable. One of the things that Mark was working on was literally copying the bottles, each individual bottle. So as you walk around this, I'm afraid the bandwidth is such that it's a little bit jumpy, but you get the idea, okay? You can walk up to any three-dimensional model, walk around it, and you can, in this particular environment, there's 20 people. So if 20 of you out there with a laptop logged in to wa3530.availlive.com, you would appear inside this environment with me, and you'd be walking around in the same area with me, and you could talk to one another over the speakers of the headset or the microphone. Figure out what you need it for, and then people will come and start building in it, and eventually the web will be 3D. You'll be walking around inside the web instead of having 2D pictures. We've got some brochures here. I've only got about 10, but it goes through it's a fact sheet for Avaya Live, tells you exactly what's possible with it. And we gave a paper that we presented to IEEE Virtual Worlds. And it explains exactly what we're doing with this. Any questions?
Questions, yeah.
Oh.
There was a web-based, I believe web-based 3D technology like 10 years ago. I can't remember what it was called, but it never took off.
VRML.
Yeah, that's it, VRML. So what is...
Well, the thing is about this is based on the Epic Unreal gaming engine. And the whole point is that a complete environment might actually run to the hundreds of megabytes. And the whole point is that you've got to download it onto your local machine, and because it's a gaming engine, it's actually programmed to be completely, what's the word for it, robust and encrypted. I'm sorry, I'm not the tech guy, right? So the point is though, even though it's in your local machine, you can't get at it and fiddle with it and change it. Any of the assets you're downloading onto the local machine that you're going to use to collaborate with other people, you can't get at those. It's fixed. It's no way you're going to get at it. And that was the trick with the gaming engine, because otherwise you'd get in there and start fiddling with the assets. Now, the Second Life is completely different. They have an asset server in the middle of Arizona or something, I think, and you go down there. Assets are downloaded with bandwidth onto your computer, and they disappear again once you've logged off. And it makes it much more laggy, much more bandwidth. It hogs the bandwidth, and it's a lot. It's very, very poor as far as frame rates, but it's actually using the Unreal Engine. Yeah.
What will you do with this? This will be rolled out and...
Well, actually, it's rolled out now. You can go to avaya.live.com right now.
So I meant, are you going to monetize this? And if so, what's your business model?
That's a very good point. You know what? If you come up with one, we'd be very interested in developing it with you, okay?
Well, there's enough people to root.
Because the problem really is, yes, we've figured out the only thing we can do is unless you get the eyeballs onto an environment, unless we make some really immersive environment that people want to actually go and see, once you get enough people going to see it and the eyeballs are there, then you can monetize it. But the chicken and egg, how the hell do you get the eyeballs without an immersive environment? But right now, we are developing with two large universities in the UK where we're bringing in all their modeling assets. So you could right now model the entire city of Rome in 200 AD, exactly as it was, and then give guided tours. And you'd have, I'm afraid you're going to have some subtle advertising in certain areas. Of course. Okay.
Have you tried talking to architects?
Yes, and they're incredibly frightened by the whole thing, because it's like everything else. They've spent 10 years being practicing their watercoloring and doing their isometrics and doing this and doing the other. And to be quite honest, when you go to them and show them that this is the future, they'd rather run away from it and say, look, you know what, it destroys my entire ethos for existence. You know, I've spent my 7 years doing my certain type of architectural way of doing things. So I'm afraid we're scaring people to death rather than developing interest. Yeah, Mike.
I'm just curious if this is more of if it's only a technology idea for kind of giving demos of locations, so that you were mentioning architecture of Rome, etc., or is it an idea for kind of expanding into maybe letting players view, kind of like Second Life, where we can maybe I can be a robot or a werewolf, and you can view different players, and they can be kind of have fun with
Oh yeah, I mean, in the future there will be avatar generation situations where you can generate whatever avatar you want. You know, it's not a big deal that. You can even get, take people's pictures and actually get them to look almost identical inside the virtual world. But the problem we have right now is that there's a lot of people very soured by the Second Life experience. Very badly bitten. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that thought they were going to do very well in it. They were going to make all kinds of, it was going to be the next big thing. And it seems to have just stumbled and done a face plant. and everybody's, you know, desperately trying to shore it up, but it doesn't have the capability. They were going to bring mesh in last year, and it never came off, or it came off, but it's very poor. And, you know, I think there's a lot of people out there right now don't even want to talk about virtual environments because of the bad situation, the taste in their mouth after Second Life. But when you see this, what I really get excited about is the fact that this is the Unreal 2 engine. The Unreal 2 engine is obsolete. It's ancient, but it runs on a cheap on your mother's laptop because it's such a you know, once they, in the next couple of years to 3 years, when somebody decides to put the Unreal 3 engine into a web embedded onto the server so you can actually run the Unreal 3, it's limitless polygons. It's fantastic, beautiful, high quality, realistic 3D worlds. So it's the next big thing. I mean, it's not, we don't know when it might be. It might be 6 months, it might be 6 years, it might be 10 years, who knows? But I'm afraid that it's just, you can see that it's got that potential eventually to take over from just a 2D web.
One more question, I may have missed this earlier on. I'm just curious as to what technology is used to render this in the browser. Is it Java applet or?
You know what, that's a bloody good question. I don't know. Remember, it's Flash 10. It's Flash technology for sure, because you can see it when you download the plugin. It actually it asks you to plug in the latest Flash, and it works that way. But I don't know.
Well, if it's 11, then it's got hardware acceleration, and we're seeing things better than this, like, you know, coming up in 11 with GPU.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's just interesting. I mean, game engines have a phenomenal potential for more realism, and VRML and all the other kind of web attempts were very crude, really. Any more questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.